to be a good performer. You have to be a good performer. That's not enough. That's just kind of like the price of admission. So one of the things that I've done over these past years is I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of very senior people, and I've watched a lot of people in action, and I actually have like a marble notebook, and I had taken all these people that I knew who I thought were role models for me, or people who I thought were really sharp, really knew what they were doing, and somebody that I admired. And I started just writing down like characteristics of who they were, of what I observed in them. And what I found was that I had this long list. So I said, well, this long list is like not very helpful to me. So I kind of did like my own little regression analysis on it, and I came up with like 5 things. Excuse me, 7 things. I went to a Catholic school where they didn't put much emphasis on math and science. I was coming in before, I'd have been an engineer when I couldn't pass in math. But anyway, I found 7 things. And this is what I really want to talk to you about today. Is that everybody that I know that's successful is pretty good in all of these, and really good in a couple. Everybody knew they were clear on their purpose and direction in their life. They knew what they wanted out of their life. They knew what they wanted out of their career. Everybody committed to taking personal responsibility. And I'm not too worried about you. You're here tonight when you could be doing a whole bunch of other things. That's personal responsibility. That's saying, I'm going to go, and who knows what this guy's going to say about climbing the corporate ladder, but I might get something out of it. I might at least get a nugget out of it. And so that's taking personal responsibility. That's a personal commitment that says, I'm going to make sure that I get what I want out of my life and career. And that's really important. And I think you have to commit to that, not just say I take personal responsibility. You have to commit to it. And everybody that I know that's successful has made that commitment. The third one was they were all self-confident. They weren't arrogant, but they all believed that they were going to be successful. And if you don't believe you're going to be successful, you're not going to be successful. You're just not going to be. You have to believe in yourself. And I know we get all sorts of messages. We get all sorts of messages. I'll give you 2 personal examples. I got accepted to Harvard to do a PhD. I called up my mother and said, Mom, I got accepted to Harvard. She said, oh my God. So what do you mean? She said, you think you can do it there? That's a pretty big place. I mean, these are like smart people. And I said, well, what about me? I think I'm pretty smart. Well, and then she said, well, self-praise stinks, son. Okay, Mom. But I mean, and then I'll tell you another one, though. And this one really got me. Because I really was pretty much taught that I could do anything I wanted in my life. My sister's getting married. My dad, I walk into his bedroom, and he's there, and he's kind of tying his tie, and he's kind of... And, and he's a tough guy. I mean, he's a steel worker, just a tough kind of macho guy. And I said to him, what's wrong, Dad? He says, well, she's not going to be my little girl anymore. She's getting married today. And, I'm not going to be able to tell her what to do. Now she's going to have her own husband to tell her what to do. And I was like, what? And I said to myself, wait a minute, did I grow up in this house? I mean, I know I never got any messages like that. What messages was she getting at a subliminal level? So this self-confidence stuff is not, you have to work at it. You do have to work at it, because we all have old stuff that somehow or other sometimes, mitigates us being really confident. But I'll never forget that story. Because, I'm thinking to myself, well, Dad, A, she's the brains of this operation. She still, to this day, makes more money than her husband. And B, quite frankly, you haven't been able to tell her what to do for many years, but I'm not going to bring that up at this particular point. But it was just absolutely amazing. So sometimes, this one here, the self-confidence, is one that you sometimes really have to work at. Because we get lots of messages that sort of mitigate it. And those first 3 are really what I think, they're more attitudinal. They're kind of a life stance that you can take. And you can say, yeah, I'm going to work on this, and I'm going to focus on this stuff, and I'm going to develop these attitudes. These last 4 are more, what I would refer to as more like skills. You have to be a good performer. We've already talked about that. You have to do what I call create positive personal impact. Now I look around here, this is a good looking group. I mean, check yourselves out. I mean, people look good. They're dressed up. They look good. As I was having a conversation with people were coming up, shaking my hand. Hi, I'm so-and-so. You know, who are you? It's nice to meet you. Folks over here invited me to sit with them at a table. That's creating positive personal impact. It's kind of like charisma, only more. You want people to want to be around you. You want them to want you on your team, on their teams. So you have to know how to create that. And there's some things you can learn. I'll tell you about it in a minute. The other thing is you have to be a good communicator. You have to be able to do three things really well. You have to be able to be a good conversationalist. You have to be able to be a good writer. And you have to be able to do what I'm doing now, is present. And I'll tell you this, I'm sure you've all heard it before. You know, the study they did where they asked people what they fear the most, and the number one thing was speaking in public, and death was number 4. You know, if you take that literally, a lot of people would rather die than have to get up and do a talk. But all of you work in companies and you know you need to get up and do talks. Because talks are your opportunity to shine, your opportunity to show people, hey, that you know something, that you're somebody to be reckoned with, that you're somebody that they can actually count on to deliver. So you need to develop those communication skills. And the last one is you have to have strong relationships. None of us go alone. None of us can go it alone. As good as Eli Manning is, somebody has to block for him. As good as LeBron James is, somebody has to pass him the ball to get some rebounds. And by the way, did anybody see the Knicks and Nets game the other night on TV? I thought that was cool. You know, playing in Brooklyn area. And then the Spike Lee commercial at the end was even better, where he was sort of debating with himself whether he was a Knicks or a Nets fan, not up there in Brooklyn. But you have to build relationships, because none of us can do it on our own. And relationships really are an important key to your success. Because if you can't build relationships, and if people don't trust you, don't like you, you're going to have a very difficult time moving forward. So, any questions, comments about what I've said so far? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sure you'll get into it, but I know there's been a lot of job loss in the past 12 months, a lot of companies that are really cutting back in significant ways that really impact staff and personnel, and I'm sure you'll speak to how some of that has had a negative impact on any of these areas, but in particular, I think, you know, self-confidence is an area that I think a lot of people are struggling with. Maybe they once had it, and because of some of the economic conditions and companies really, you know, cutting back and doing things that are having a negative impact on staff morale and such, how do you overcome some of that and rebuild back that confidence that you once had in an era of like that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, here you go. Just because you helped me out here, you're going to have a copy of my book, Success Tweets. You know, open it up and show it to people what it looks like. No. It's one tweet per page, 140 characters per page. But it's 140 ideas that I have on what it takes to succeed.
I'll share it through tweeting.
Now, I tell you what, I tell people that if you can learn and master these things, you're likely to get to the top of the promotion list and stay off the layoff list. Now, I realize that sometimes some companies go through, you know, I mean, they worship at the altar of St. Jack Welch, and it's well, we're going to cut the bottom 10% of the year, which is ridiculous. So people do get caught up in layoffs sometimes when they shouldn't do. And I think that's when it is hardest to keep your confidence up. And so my take on it always is you have to go back to the one right above the self-confidence.